James had always been a man of routine. Every morning, he left for work early and returned home late, barely making time for his wife, Sarah, who was 7 months pregnant. As her belly grew, so did his frustration. He wasn't prepared for the changes coming into their lives, and instead of embracing fatherhood, he retreated into work, hobbies, and excuses. Sarah had once been the light of his life. He remembered their whirlwind romance, the nights spent laughing until their cheeks hurt, and the day they learned that they would become parents. But as her pregnancy advanced, James became irritable and distant. Sarah was tired and emotional, and instead of offering her comfort, James criticized her for everything: her cravings, her frequent need to rest, her swollen ankles. "You're always complaining," he would say, rolling his eyes. "It's not like you're the first woman to have a baby." Sarah swallowed her hurt. She had always been strong, but James' coldness was starting to break her. She didn't understand why he had changed so much, why he couldn't see that she was the same woman he had married, just a little more vulnerable now. She needed him, but instead, she felt like a burden. One evening, after a particularly long day, James came home to find Sarah sitting on the couch, tears silently rolling down her cheeks. The sight irritated him. He snapped, throwing his briefcase onto the floor. "What now?" "I'm tired. Sarah, I don't have time for this." She looked up at him, her face pale and worn. "James," she whispered, her voice trembling, "I'm scared. I'm doing this alone. I don't feel like you're here with me." His anger flared. "I'm here, aren't I? I go to work every day to provide for us. You don't have to worry about anything, and yet all you do is cry." Sarah flinched as though his words had physically hurt her. She wiped her tears, took a deep breath, and looked him in the eye. "I don't need your money, James. I need you. I need you to care, to ask how I'm feeling, to hold me when I'm scared. I'm carrying our child, and I feel like I've never been more alone in my life." Her words cut through him, but he refused to admit it. Instead, he turned away, muttering under his breath as he stomped to their bedroom. That night, James lay in bed, wide awake. Sarah slept fitfully beside him, her hand resting protectively on her belly. For the first time in weeks, he really looked at her swollen feet, the dark circles under her eyes, the soft rise and fall of her chest as she struggled to rest. A wave of guilt washed over him. He had been so wrapped up in his own fears about fatherhood, about the changes that were coming, that he had failed to see the strength and love Sarah had shown every day. She was carrying their child, enduring physical pain and emotional vulnerability while he had shut her out. The next morning, as Sarah struggled to get out of bed, James rushed to her side. She looked at him, surprised by the softness in his eyes.
"Let me help," he said quietly, taking her hand. She hesitated, but allowed him to guide her to her feet. "James?" He took a deep breath, shame filling his heart. "I'm sorry," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "I've been awful to you. I've been scared, and instead of dealing with it, I took it out on you. You deserve so much better than that." Sarah stared at him for a moment, her eyes searching his face. Slowly, she nodded, a tear slipping down her cheek. "I just need you, James. That's all I've ever needed." From that day on, James made a promise to himself. He would be the partner Sarah deserved, the father their child needed. He attended every doctor's appointment, took over the household chores, and spent hours reading about pregnancy and fatherhood. Most importantly, he listened. He listened to Sarah when she talked about her fears, her hopes, and her love for the baby growing inside her. And when their daughter was born 2 months later, James wept as he held her tiny hand in his. He realized then that everything Sarah had gone through had brought them closer to this moment, and he vowed never to take her or their family for granted again. He had made mistakes, but now he was ready to be the man they needed him to be.